NBC had not pulled enough right-wing hate pieces out of their asses recently, so they published a new steaming pile of crap for all of us to laugh at and all of us to share on social media. But this time, it is about birth control, which is shocking because it's usually about Trump.
Orange man bad.
Orange man bad.
Before we get into it, though, make sure that you like.
This came out yesterday. I haven't heard Orange Man bad in like at least a few years. It's 2023, sweetheart. Please move on.
This video, subscribe to the channel if you've not already, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a comment section or off the clock episode. All right, so this was published on July 2nd, and they wrote, major conservative influencers have coalesced in recent months around talking points that connect birth control with a variety of negative health outcomes, which experts say instill fear in women who could otherwise benefit from using birth control. And somebody commented, LOL, that darn science is allowing those damn conservatives to create talking points. Obviously, we're going to get to this later, but do you actually think that this is about health or truth, or do you think it's them wanting to fuel a greater political divide and make us all look terrible? But I did read the article, and in regards...
What? That's crazy.
To the conservative folks that they referenced, they were actually spot on. Like, the article was not that crazy because everything that these conservative influencers have been saying is actually very accurate and very balanced. Like, they brought up Alex Clark, who is a TPUSA and she does politics, and her podcast, The Spillover, is one of my favorite podcasts, and she is very vocally, against birth control, and they quoted her in this article and said that Clark wrote, birth control can be right for some in some cases, but we shouldn't just take it blindly because of acne, and we shouldn't treat it as the default for all women. That is a very rational and balanced statement. How is that a conservative take? How is saying maybe 14-year-old girls who aren't having sex shouldn't be prescribed birth control? How is that crazy and divisive and political?
Let me break it down for you, Chief.
Some women will choose to take birth control. Maybe they actually do need it. Maybe that is the best option for them, and that is...
Oh man, this is so disingenuous. I know it's a Brett Cooper video, but like, it's so disingenuous, man. This idea that like birth control is like easily prescribed like candy. Like 14-year-olds get like birth control for acne is just so silly. You can get prescribed Spiro, and you can get prescribed estrogen for acne, but it's very hard to get prescriptions as like a kid.
That's totally fine. The important thing here is that women should be able to make informed consent. And right now...
Also, I feel like even without looking, I feel like she's being disingenuous. You know how people will quote J.K. Rowling and they'll be like, everyone thinks J.K. Rowling is a transphobe because she said she wants to make sure that women are safe. And it's like, wait, that's not why people think that she's a transphobe. People think she's a transphobe because of all these other things she said. So I don't believe her when she says, oh my God, look, they're trying to make this woman look super unreasonable. And all she did was say one very reasonable thing. I feel like they probably quoted something more extreme that she said.
Now, a lot of women are not able to. The problem is that doctors offer us birth control as a fix-all. You have acne? Try birth control. Your periods are painful? Great. Let's give you something to chemically suppress your hormones that make you a woman. Oh, you're gaining weight. Let's try a different form of birth control. It is totally fine to take a pill that chemically alters the very hormones that make a woman a woman. This is not just an attack.
This isn't even remotely true. And I can tell you this isn't true because I remember as a teenager, I had an irregular cycle. And it was really infuriating to deal with and was very painful. And I went to the gynecologist and I was like, hey, I want to get this for like regulation purposes. And they were like, okay. And they like did a scan and they were like, well, you're perfectly healthy. Everything is fine. So we're not going to prescribe it to you. And I was like, but I want the drug. There's legit medical conditions also that it can be used for. Yeah, we'll get to that too. And I was like, but I want to regulate my hormones because my cycles are really painful and I don't want to have to deal with that. And I know that getting on some birth control pills will fix that for you and they'll make them less painful. Like, it's not great when like because I was like, it was like once every 3 months. It was crazy. It was like once every 3 months, I would just be in the most excruciating pain of my life for a week. And I was like, hey, I kind of don't want to live like this, actually. And my gynecologist literally said, no, I don't care. And I was like, yay, woo, cool, great, poggers, wonderful. This idea that I hate when conservatives are like, you can just go into any doctor's office and ask for any drugs and they just give them to you. It's like, no. My endo was so bad at 13 that I looked like I was like 5 months pregnant. Oh my God. My wife was put on birth control when she was 11 for ovarian cysts. Both my sisters started on the pill early for the same reason. Yeah. And like, there are reasons to not get on birth control. Of course, like I think birth control is a blood thinner, or is it a blood coagulator? I always forget. But if you already deal with issues with, it's a coagulator. Yeah. If you deal with issues in terms of like other things, I forget what it is. I think it's like smoking is one of them. There's a few other ones. Then they say, hey, actually, we're not sure if this is a good idea for you. Just because of these pre-existing conditions, you might end up dealing with blood clotting. So it's not like they just give it to you, no warning, fucking, like this isn't, this informed consent argument is a spin-off of anti-vax, anti-science skepticism. And like realistically speaking, when you get your medication, you can look through, the information packet. It tells you all the warnings. I recently got on this new medication and it's like very mild. And I went through and I like read through all of like the side effects and everything. And I was like, side effects like may cause more headaches, blah, 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 this and this. But everything was in the packet. Like you can read everything. The doctors will even tell you about it. They even won't recommend it to you most of the time if they think that there might be some like, what's the term? Bad interactions. Or if you have pre-existing conditions that make it that drug would not be good for you. I'm a trans mass person and I used to have a period for 30 days at a time, a week. In between, and I had like violent mood swings and debilitating cramps, and it still took me months to get a prescription for birth control. Just insane. Insane.
Birth control because the right-wingers want a ton of unplanned pregnancies, which is what they were trying to insinuate with this article. It's because after COVID, people also woke up.
Whoa. Birth control is in fact something that conservatives want to ban. Let's see if I can find one. There have been at least a few states that have attempted to make contraceptives like birth control more difficult to obtain. Let's see. I'm just trying to see if I can find one of these. Which one of these links? We'll press play while I try and find one.
To Big Pharma in a big way and realized that it is not for our benefit because Big Pharma makes money when we rely on them, and we rely on them by being unhealthy. We are questioning the...
Here it is. I found it. Amid concerns that the U.S. Supreme Court might overturn a decades-old ruling which prohibits states from banning contraceptives, the U.S. House of Reps has recently passed legislative protections to federally codify the right to contraception. The House voted 228 to 195, which is insane, by the way. This idea that conservatives don't want you to have access to birth control being absurd. Almost half of the House voted, I don't know if people should have birth control. I don't know. But do they deserve it? But do they? And then which would make a federal right for Americans to obtain and use birth control pills, condoms, IUDs, and other contraceptives. The legislation would also codify health care providers' rights to provide contraceptives and allow the U.S. Justice Department to take those who infringe on the right to court. But all but 8 of the 195 House Republicans voted against the bill, including Tennessee's 7 Republican congressmen. Insanity! Yay! No, you don't understand. They want to allow the states to decide. The states' rights to what? The states' rights to do what? I fucking hate when people pull that shit on me. They're like, oh, we just care about the states. It's like, I feel like you're missing a very important part of the story. You feel like you're omitting something that makes this story very different. All right.
Entire industry of big pharma and what they are paid and incentivized to push. And that includes birth control. It is not about birth control and everything trickles down. It is about big pharma as an institution. I feel like they would literally say,
fuck off. Fuck off. It is not about big pharma. It's never been about big pharma. There are genuine concerns to have about big pharma. Like the opioid epidemic was completely at the hands of big pharma, right? But if you want to talk about big pharma, why don't we talk about fucking insulin prices in the United States? If you want to talk about big pharma, why don't we talk about the fact that like we don't use a price index the same way that like a lot of other countries in like the EU, for example, use? There are so many things we could discuss in big pharma. Like, I'm not going to sit here and simp for big pharma. However, the right once again stealing the language of the left and making it an empty turn of phrase. Yeah.
That inhaling exhaust fumes is healthy and good for you if it would make us look bad, which it's not. It is not good for you. And if you want, this article then brought up the recent studies done about the side effects of birth control, of which there are many. It is literally a trend on TikTok to unroll your huge sheet of side effects for your birth control and lay under it like a blanket. Look how long these side effects are.
You're such a disingenuous fucker. You are so disingenuous. It is not a list of side effects, you fucking liar. Okay?
Fuck.
Hold up. Let's crack this bitch open. This is literally just propaganda. Okay? For starters, okay? This is my sheet. It's actually not enough to even really cover anything. Okay? It's actually pretty small. Second of all, it has like directions. Like it's like half of this is like, hey, have you never used this before? Here's how you use it. Okay? And then it tells you like, hey, like what do you do if you miss one? Every piece of medication looks like this. It's because they have to give you instructions, directions. Some of it is about like explaining contraceptives. Like this is literally just telling you, hey, this is how contraceptives work. And then there's one section that will talk about side effects. Here. Out of all of it, here are the side effects. Which is the normal amount of side effects for like most sheets of paper. Okay? It just says like, hey, you might have like, what is it called? High blood pressure. Maybe you'll have changes in sugar and fat levels in your blood. You might experience headaches. You might experience unusual bleeding. Like, that's what it says. These are that's half of the side effects are like, yeah, you might just have a headache. There are negative side effects on here. Of course there are. No one's going to pretend like they're not. But like, it literally says the most common side effects of this drug include headache, stomach pain, nausea, bleeding, acne, pain, or infections. Those are the common ones. And they put those side effects in just as like a disclosure because it's your right as a consumer to get these side effects. But like this, I hate disingenuous liars.
People know that. We know that there are side effects. And they tried to brush this off. And they brought up one really important study that was done in 2018, which found an association between taking hormonal birth control and suicide attempts and suicide in women in Denmark. And this is a very well-respected study, and a lot of people know about it. And this article brushed it off and said, well, doctors also say that depression and suicide increases in pregnancy, so it's fine. So women are just doomed to be depressed regardless.
I'll die. I'll just die.
Again, they don't actually care about your health. But even the doctor that they were interviewing throughout this entire article, who was on their side, could not deny the truth behind this report, saying,
You know what else? The reason why those doctors said, but we don't know why, is because it's impossible to know exactly why something happens. It's really difficult. The way that drugs interact with our body, we barely understand it. When I was reading like a paper on, I'm on a new, like, it's supposed to be like an ADHD drug or something. And it's also supposed to be good for like a bunch of other things as well. And I was reading it, and it's like there's like one very scary thing about the drug, and like the drug is like may cause like fatal liver damage. And I was like, whoa, this sounds like really serious. I spent literally 15 minutes reading studies on this yesterday. There have been, in the millions of uses of it, there have been 3 recorded deaths from cause of like liver, I forget the word, but basically in these patients, they found necrosis in the liver. And all 3 of those cases, the people all had like underlying health issues. Okay. They all had already been dealing with liver issues. And the studies, like the case study review on this, it says like, hey, we believe that it's safe because millions of people use this every year. And in the entirety of like the drug that's been out for like over 2 decades, there have only been 3 cases. And we think that the drug was a catalyst for the underlying health issues that already existed in these people. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, then I'm not as concerned. You can just get on the internet and read about this shit. And it's the same thing. It's like, they literally said, the study said, the case study of this person, it said, our most probable guess is that this was the catalyst. It's like, they are not even 100% sure, because the way that a bunch of different drugs are going to interact with your body is impossible to know for sure. They can take good, genuine guesses, and like, we're pretty sure that this is what caused this. But that's it. That's all they can do. So when a study says like, what did she say? What did she say?
Again, they don't actually care about your health. But even the doctor that they were interviewing throughout this entire article, who was on their side, could not deny the truth behind this.
No, before this.
One really important study that was done in 2018, which found an association between taking hormonal birth control and suicide attempts and suicide in women in Denmark. And this is
okay. It is so disingenuous to pull that shit up and say that. Do you want to know what else people have found? They've also found that women who have breast augmentation, or I believe breast implants, have a 2 or 3 times higher rate of suicide than women who don't have breast implants. That doesn't mean that the breast implants are causing you to get suicidal. In fact, none of the studies say this. The studies say, hey, there's a correlation between these things. And some other people say that, or like some guesses are, hey, it might be the case that women who get breast augmentation are women who deal with body image issues and are already dealing with suicidal ideation, that they were insecure before and they realized getting the implants didn't change the way that they felt about themselves. So like, we don't know. Maybe it is that the implants are causing people to want to attempt suicide at higher rates. Or maybe it's the case that these women were already dealing with ideation beforehand. It's because it's impossible to tell. It's impossible to measure that. To measure like, well, how much, like you would have to get so many different people to engage in like longitudinal studies, which would be insane. And it's the same thing that's happening here. You can't say like, hey, we found that women who take birth control are at a higher risk of like X, Y, and Z. And so therefore women should just stop taking it or something. It's like, okay, but why is this happening? Are there other reasons that this could be happening? Is it possible that these women could have been in situations that would have made this more likely? Do you know what I mean? It's a hypothetical statistic. Yeah. Anywho.
A very well-respected study, and a lot of people know about it. And this article brushed it off and said, well, doctors also say that depression and suicide increases in pregnancy, so it's fine. So women are just doomed to be depressed regardless.
I'll die. I'll just die.
Again, they don't actually care about your health. But even the doctor that they were interviewing throughout this entire article, who was on their side, could not deny the truth behind this report, saying that the 2018 Dutch study into suicide and hormonal birth control was really important and well done. Now, some of the things that they did not include in this article were that hormonal birth control has been proven to increase the risk of blood clots and stroke.
We've already talked about this. It's like one of the first things, it's one of the first things that doctors ask you about when you go in and you ask for a prescription. That's why they make sure you don't have any underlying issues, you're not taking any other coagulators, and that you aren't at risk for anything. But that's every drug. The reality is that for most people, they're willing to deal with the increased risk of potential things, of a few other potential things, in exchange for not getting pregnant. And also, most women that I've met who have been on birth control have talked about how much they don't want to be on it and that they're upset that there aren't more male birth control options available.
Increase the risk for certain cancers like breast, ovarian, and liver cancer, perpetuate autoimmune conditions, trigger deficiencies in vital nutrients, lead to reproductive issues, increase risk of depression, and nearly triple the risk of suicide in young women. Now, Evie Magazine posted this, and they have written countless articles about it. If you want to learn more about any of this, they have an article about it. Go to their website. All of this.
Also, very important, chat. Thank you. Someone in chat mentioned it. Sorry, I was reading something else in chat. Also, first of all, here we go. This is very important. That list still sneaks in increased risk of depression, suicide, as if it was proven as causal. Correlation is not causation. Please. I am begging people. I'm begging people on the internet to not be disingenuous. Second of all, I don't like the fact that both Evie, this like right-wing Cosmo article, website, and Fem Shapiro here are pretending like if something says it has a potential list of side effects, you are going to get all of those. There's a reason that they have like extreme case side effects that affect like less than 1%, and that they have common side effects. Most drugs that you take are not going to cause negative side effects. Like I think Hassan has been pretty open about taking finasteride. Finasteride has like a risk of erectile dysfunction. It doesn't mean that it's going to cause it. It doesn't mean like, well, now you've started taking this. Yeah, your dick, it's gone. It's not going to work anymore. It just means that there is a risk. It's literally just the pharmaceutical company is doing its due diligence to say, hey, if this is a risk that you aren't willing to take, don't take this drug. And it's like a 0.1% chance. It's literally just giving you the control to do what you want with your life. That's it. Imagine believing this person cares about women's well-being in the first place. You're so right, dude. You're fucking so right. Which is fine. Like, for me, it's like, I read this drug that I wanted to take. I read all about it. I read the studies. I read, like, the chances. And it was like, has been linked to a 20% increase in, like, headaches. And I'm like, okay, I'm willing to deal with more headaches. Okay. Let's see what else is there. Might cause more anxiety. I'm like, you know what? I deal with so much anxiety as is. I'm good. Let's bring it on. Give me the best you got, man. Okay. It's like, may do this. I'm like, yeah, I can take that. But it's so that you can have like all the information available, and you can make those decisions based on like what you think is the best decision for you, or what your doctor thinks is the best decision for you. You know? And also, yeah, if you don't like the side effects, I've met lots of women who have gotten on birth controls and they just drop them. They're like, I can't. It caused me to break out. I was gaining weight. I was feeling these crazy mood swings. I got right off. It's not like once you start taking the drug, like the pharmaceutical, like big boss guys come up behind you and they're like, you need to take your drugs. Come on. Take your drugs. Take them. You can stop. Not all drugs. Not all drugs. Some drugs you can't just stop immediately. I'm only talking about birth control, okay? I'm pretty sure there are some drugs that you do run the risk of some weird side effects if you go cold turkey and you stop taking them. I don't know the information label of every single drug, excuse me, sorry. And I don't know which ones are lethal to stop taking, or like which ones, like the withdrawal on some are really bad. I think SSRIs are one of the ones that like you really should consult with your doctor before you stop taking them. But when it comes to birth control, you can stop taking birth control whenever you want. You'll be fine. You'll be 100% fine. If anyone in chat here is on birth control and you've decided you don't want to deal with it anymore, it's okay. You can actually just stop. You should still consult with your doctor before you do stop, just in case for any other reasons and stuff. But the only risk is that you might get pregnant. But like you should already know that stopping taking your birth control means that you're no longer on birth control, you know? That's just, you know. But you can cold turkey your birth control pills. You actually can't get addicted to birth control. I know, crazy as it sounds.
Is written in that blanket-sized side effects paper. But doctors never tell you any of that. That's the problem. They expect that you're going to go home and read all of those things before you take it. No, they just say, this is great. This will fix everything. And they don't give you any.
No. First of all, every doctor I've went to has given me like a long list of potential side effects or like reasons not to take a drug. And second of all, okay, everyone should read. Chat, if you ever take any drug ever, just Google the drug. This is what I do. I go to my doctor, I ask them for like a good comprehensive like information list. And then I usually just Google the drug, go to Wikipedia, go through like the side effects, like the potential side effects of that drug. And then I read through like the studies. So you know how like Wikipedia has like the footnotes or whatever? You just click on it. It's like increased risk of this. Click on that link. It'll take you to a study that will explain it. It's like, I was looking at mine and it was like chance of fatal liver failure. And I'm like, well, let's see. Well, there were 3 cases and all of them were like people that already had pre-existing liver problems and like pneumonia and were on other drugs that would cause liver damage. And it's like, oh, okay. Got it. Okay. All right. I'm not that concerned about that anymore. Okay, great. I really want to have kids, but my damn birth control addiction. Oh, God. Pillidentifier.com if you find a pill and don't know. Oh, yeah. Also, well, what do you mean find a pill? Oh, my God. Monka ass. But anywho. And most of the drugs you can't even be handed without talking to a pharmacist or advice nurse. Yeah. It is a good resource, but like... Yeah, also most drugs have like numbers on them. So let me see if I can. Please. My drugs are not cooperating. This is all going to be worth it. The payout will be crazy. But like most drugs have like little numbers and stuff on them. Letters and numbers, and you can usually just like Google that and it'll find like that exact drug. Tasty candy, you mean? Oh yeah, candy. Tasty candy. Okay.
Any other options? And that is the other problem. Rather than educating women about their bodies and empowering them to make the best decision for themselves, they push these drugs starting at age 12, 13, 14 for girls who are not even having sex.
They're 12.
Then finally, they talked about natural family planning and cycle tracking, which is increasingly becoming more popular as people turn away from birth control. People who are not even conservative, people just in general, are turning away from birth control. They said, according to the Mayo Clinic, fertility cycle tracking is among the least effective types of birth control, and that effectiveness varies by couple. It said that as many as 24 out of 100 women who use natural family planning will become pregnant within the first year. Now, something that I think is important to note is that natural family planning...
Wait, she didn't back up her claim. She said people now are taking birth control less. Conservatives are taking birth control less. Non-conservatives are moving away from birth control. But then she put something on the screen that just said, like, couples who use natural birth control planning, it doesn't work very well. That wasn't, where was its swords? Where's the swords? Oh my God.
Planning is not just a birth control, but couples also use natural family planning to get pregnant, to cycle track, to figure out when the woman is ovulating so that they can have a baby. So I don't totally trust these numbers. I would look at some other reports just to actually figure it out. And also, it is true, cycle tracking, natural family planning, it comes down to how dedicated you are and how detailed you are. But I mean, it's that or, remembering to take a pill every single day at the exact same time. If you wonder why women have little alarms on their phone, that is why, because it is so detailed down.
Why do women have lots of little alarms on their phone? It's for their pills. It's a feminine trait to have an alarm on your phone, chat. Just want you guys to know. If you have an alarm on your phone and I'm hanging out with you and your phone goes off, I'm assuming you're taking birth control. Okay? Just want you guys to know. Also, please do not use natural birth control. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's like you track your cycle with like one of those like apps that tracks your cycle. So basically you put in like my period has started this day. And then it ended on this day. And then it's supposed to start like predicting when it's supposed to start again. And it's supposed to guess what days are safe and which days are not. But it's not perfect. It's not a perfect system. And you shouldn't do it. It has a 25% failure rate, for fuck's sake.
Down to the minute that you have to take it every single 24 hours. They also said a 2021 study of period tracking apps for fertility planning
around the ISTG
found that out of 10 apps used, all of them gave conflicting dates of fertility, most of which were incorrect. As one commenter pointed out, they didn't acknowledge that no birth control is totally effective. This lady said, what bothers me about this article is the emphasis on how cycle tracking fails as birth control, without mentioning that hormonal birth control and IUDs also fail. No method of birth control is foolproof. No one ever said that cycle tracking was perfect, but at least it offers women an alternative to the terrible side effects of synthetic hormones. The only thing that is 100% effective is abstinence, is key.
Hey, one quick question. What about married couples who already have 3 kids? Who already have 3 kids and don't want more kids? If you're married and you already have kids and you don't want kids, guess what? You should stop having sex with your spouse altogether. Also, that's not even true. You know what else is 100% effective? Vasectomies. If you know you don't want kids or you know you've had enough kids and you don't want more kids, vasectomies are 100% effective. Just so you guys know. The only thing that's 100% effective, tell that to Virgin Mary. Yeah. Seatbelts aren't 100% effective, so you shouldn't use them. Yeah. In successful vasectomies. So is getting your tubes tied, but they hate bringing that up. Oh, are you making fun of the conservative? I thought you were making fun of me for a second. And I was like, whoa, you don't get to make fun of the streamer here. But yes, also that's true. Yes. My bad. Sorry, I almost friendly fired you. Sorry. Please forgive me. Yes, sorry about that. And yes, that is also true. That's also true. I thought you were saying me. I was like, what? I'm not against that. I know lots of people who have gotten like hysterectomies or have gotten their tubes tied. That's fine. You can do that too. But yes, they also hate bringing this up as well because they're like, you can never do that ever. It's against God to get your tubes tied. A girl I went to school with wanted her tubes tied after her third child. The doctor literally wouldn't do it because her husband might want another one. And she ended up getting pregnant again. And she finally got her tubes tied after her fourth child. So maddening that she wanted it after the third and she was denied the procedure. It's insane. It's fucking insane, dude. It's fucking great. Like, as long as the doctor can confirm that you are in, like, how do I explain it? Like, you are in a reasonable state of mind. I don't see why the doctors should tell you what you can and can't do.
Keeping your legs closed. But that is literally the only thing that is 100% effective. There is a risk with the pill. The IUD can fail. Condoms can break. People could even have failed vasectomies resulting in pregnancy. But they didn't talk about any of that. But the difference is, these chemical forms of birth control also come with serious side effects. And women deserve to be able to make educated decisions about what they are putting in their bodies. That should not be a conservative, right-wing, politicized talking point. This is
such a dumb opinion, too. Women shouldn't have to read.
My streamer to show my dates. DNM love, DNM love, DNM love, DNM love. Keep being great.
Dreamcatcher, thank you for the 11 months. Women, you shouldn't have to read the packaging, but also there are serious side effects. Also, you need to make informed decisions. Huh? Why not just like tell your audience to read? Because that's what I say. Chad, if you ever take a new drug, I'm going to be honest, there are a lot of psychiatrists out there and a lot of doctors out there that are not great. If you ever get prescribed, maybe I'm just very paranoid or maybe I'm just very careful and cautious. If I ever get prescribed a drug, I always do research on it first. I do research on it, find out what the worst side effect is or what the worst like thing that can happen to you on that drug is. And then I decide, how do I feel about this? So like I'm already getting prescribed it by an official doctor, and then I'm choosing to do additional research. I'm not saying like I'm like doing my own research and buying drugs on the black market, to be clear. But like I had a doctor prescribe me a drug and I was like, I don't want to take this yet until I feel confident taking it. Because that's just my standard, right? So I'm like, okay, I will read a couple. I have this drug. I have this bottle of pills. Okay. Oh, thank you, Tiny Zucchini. I have this bottle of pills. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to read about the studies. I'm going to see what happened when people took this. And then I'm going to make a decision off of that.
truth and about women's health and their right to know what they are putting in their bodies. I also think, and this is just kind of like a funny anecdote, not really an anecdote because it's out there, but they had been studying men's birth control for a very long time. And then they stopped it because men were having the same side effects that women have. So now it's just on women. So just think about that. That's my feminist high horse for the day, is that is absolutely BS. Somebody commented and said, there are actual health risks associated with using birth control, short and long term. News outlets should start being honest and quit playing politics with people's health. Somebody else said, what is it with you people being so opposed to informed consent? Why do you want to hide the risks of birth control from women? Because it's about control. Sour Patch Lids, who was formerly with Tim Pool.
The irony of a conservative's saying it's about control.
Well, I love her. She posted something under this NBC article that was so good. She shared an article that NBC themselves published back in March of this year. And she said, it's even from the same source. Please educate yourself before you encourage somebody to get cancer. And then she posted this article again that NBC wrote. Hormonal birth control methods raise breast cancer risk, study shows. In March 21st. NBC and these news outlets do not care about women. They do not care about reproductive rights or informed.
Okay, what is the article that she's talking about? She doesn't even, I fucking hate fucking conservative content. I have to look it up myself because they know nobody is ever going to do this research. You have to be so willing to learn to break out of the conservative mindset. Like, do you see the standard of like work? So bullshit. Okay, we're at 8:52. Where is this original thing?